established as a police fort in 1875, Calgary has mushroomed into a thriving metropolis supported by Western Canada's petroleum and agricultural industries. City transportation planners foresaw the need to improve the public transportation system as early as 1966. After years of research, analysis, and preliminary planning, City Council in 1976 recognized light rail transit as the most viable public transportation option for hundreds of thousands of daily commuters. As its first venture, Council approved construction of a 12.5-kilometer corridor to tie Calgary's south end into the city core. Work began after the official sod turning ceremony in May 1978 at the Anderson Road Shops and Yard Complex, a major component in the operation of Calgary's LRT. Construction on the 700-meter Cemetery Hill Tunnel began in January 1979. It is the longest underground portion of the route and was built because the existing McLeod Trail roadway exceeded the maximum 6% grade capabilities of Calgary's CTrain. The magnitude of Calgary's LRT employed the services of countless national and local companies, and it proved to be an important boon to the local economy. 3 major overpasses were built along the South Corridor. Such civic works projects allow LRT to operate on its own right-of-way without conflicting with existing traffic patterns. The Cemetery Hill Tunnel was built directly under the alignment of McLeod Trail by the cut and cover method. This meant the contractor cut into the hill, constructed a part of the tunnel, replaced the tunnel cover, and then proceeded further into the hill. The Cemetery Hill program included the upgrading of Spiller Road, a roadway bypassing Cemetery Hill, so it could serve as a detour during construction. Utilities under McLeod Trail were also excavated and replaced. Months of work were needed for the track bed preparations along the double-track route. First, the topsoil was removed. Along some portions of the route, a filter blanket of felt-like material was laid under the ballast of crushed rocks. The blanket filters out dirt and sand, which over a period of time can contaminate the ballast's high stabilization. The southern half of the South Corridor shares Canadian Pacific Railway's right-of-way, while other stretches of the corridor consist of shared and reserved right-of-ways. The Canadian Coast Guard was also involved in Calgary's LRT. Because the Elbow River is classified as a navigable waterway, it was necessary to obtain the Coast Guard's permission to build 3 bridges, 2 to be used for LRT, and 1 to serve for pedestrian and vehicle access to Stampede Park. The CPR tunnel measures 520 meters and was also constructed by the cut and cover method in downtown Calgary. This project included the temporary relocation of the railway's main line during the 14-month construction period. The tunnel passes under major one-way streets and so does not interfere with downtown traffic movements. In July 1979, changes in the downtown core began when 7th Avenue was converted to a new transit avenue to be served exclusively by LRT and bus operations. For 12 blocks, 5 underground utility lines were relocated to the sides of 7th Avenue from their central locations for easier servicing in the future and to avoid interruptions in LRT operations. The The Anderson Road Shops and Yard Complex is a massive structure covering 30,000 square meters. Unique heating and ventilating systems make it energy efficient. This building now serves as a storage and maintenance depot for 150 Calgary Transit buses and an ultimate fleet of 60 light rail vehicles. The Shops and Yard Complex was also the site for the final assembly of Calgary's light rail vehicles. The first shipment of cars arrived in Calgary January 1980. Then Transportation Director Bill Kaut and some members of City Council and the administrative staff witnessed this important milestone in Calgary's history. The entire fleet of 27 vehicles was purchased from Siemens Duwag in West Germany. The vehicles were shipped as shells through the Panama Canal to the Port of Vancouver. They were then sent by rail to the Anderson Road Complex for final assembly. To enable the wheels and undercarriages to roll underneath the shells, hydraulic jacks were used to lift the vehicles off the flatbed rail cars. Once inside the complex, it took 3 months to complete the first assembly. Nearly 27 kilometers of wiring and 20,000 electrical connectors were installed in each vehicle. A supervisory team sent to Canada by the car's manufacturer oversaw Calgary Transit's team of mechanics during the meticulous assembly stages. Approximately 42% of the labor and material in each car is Canadian, something of which Calgary is proud. Rails for Calgary's LRT were fabricated in Winnipeg from 12-meter lengths into 400-meter strands. On arrival in Calgary, they were again welded into a continuous track. This eliminates the clickety-clack of conventional rail travel and provides a smooth ride. Calgary's CTrain is powered by an overhead 600-volt direct current electrical system serviced by 8 electrical substations. Construction on the larger suburban stations began in 1979. These stations have become major transfer points in a new feeder bus network, which carries patrons from outlying suburbs. The foremost southerly passenger stations are similarly designed. They are larger and grade separate pedestrian movement by guiding commuters up and over the LRT and CPR tracks and down onto center loading platforms, which are located between the 2 sets of LRT tracks. Passenger drop-off zones known as Kiss and Ride are located near station entrances. Nearly 2,200 free parking stalls are also available in park and ride areas of the 4 southerly stations. Stairs, ramps, and escalators provide access to a mezzanine level above the LRT tracks where the self-serve ticket dispensing machines are located. Another milestone was reached in July 1980. The West German manufacturer of Calgary's light rail vehicles presented the first completed car to the city of Calgary. Representatives from Europe hosted the ceremony and handed the then Mayor Ross Alger the key to Calgary's first vehicle. An inaugural ride was taken along a completed section of the South Corridor. Mild Alberta weather in the spring of 1980 allowed the contractors to work quickly and smoothly. Styrofoam was laid over the avenue as a frost barrier. Wire meshing was also used as reinforcing for the concrete. Track gauges were checked for their proper widths. The 7th Avenue reconstruction program in downtown Calgary continued at a hectic pace. All work on the avenue, including the rough grindings on welds, was completed while pedestrian traffic was maintained across temporary wooden sidewalks and crosswalks. Concrete ties for Calgary's LRT provide a longer life expectancy than the conventional wooden ties. Land pandrel clips replace the railway spike and fasten the rails to the concrete ties. A line and trim machine with modern laser beam apparatus lifted the rail to its proper elevation and alignment and compacted the ballast. By August 1980, the end of heavy construction in the downtown was at hand. The dust had settled, and suddenly the avenue took on a new look. To herald the end of construction and to promote the return of normal pedestrian traffic along 7th Avenue, a city fair day was undertaken. The day-long celebration of sidewalk sales, music, and other promotions dotted the avenue. It was jointly sponsored by the City of Calgary and local merchants. To officially kick off the day's events, the mayor cut a CTrain cake, commissioned from a local baker. Throughout the fall and winter, the 9 downtown passenger stations underwent final assembly. These prefabricated structures were partially assembled at a site out of the downtown core, and then individually transported to the various station sites and placed on leveling pads in the curb lanes of the reconstructed avenue. After the Cemetery Hill Tunnel was completed, the engineering department widened McLeod Trail to a 6-lane thoroughfare. A rubber-type filler was used between the expansion joints of the roadway's concrete slabs. Suburban and downtown stations were completed and ready for their first carload of commuters. The downtown stations have overhead canopies and kiosks to protect commuters from inclement weather. Loading platforms can be reached by stairs and ramps adjacent to the sidewalks. As an added benefit, a free shuttle service is offered to CTrain patrons along the new Transit Avenue. A city-sponsored public education program was undertaken prior to CTrain's official opening. Open houses at several stations allowed the public to tour and inspect the trains. A CTrain information magazine was also mailed to all households across the city. On Monday, May 25th, 1981, the inauguration of Calgary CTrain drew hundreds of guests and curious citizens. It was an exciting opening day because it was the culmination of nearly 15 years of research and planning and 3 years of construction. Mayor Ralph Klein and Alberta Minister of Transportation Henry Kruger unveiled a bronze plaque during the opening ceremony. A CTrain time capsule documenting LRT's history was buried in a City Hall cornerstone. Mayor Klein officially opened the South Corridor when he drove the first CTrain through a ribbon while guests and the public cheered. An inaugural ride was then taken by invited guests and officials. CTrain's performance was impressive as the train whisked down the South Corridor for a brief station stop at the southern terminal. CTrain was warmly received by the general public at 1 p.m. on opening day when whole commuter service was introduced. Ridership has equaled the original estimates of 40,000 passengers daily, and CTrain's features and popularity continue to attract ever-increasing numbers of patrons. The true test for Calgary CTrain came shortly after its official opening, when the annual Calgary Exhibition and Stampede celebrations were held in July. CTrain performed as any reliable iron horse and carried more than 563,000 passengers during the 10-day event. The South Corridor services one of the city's most densely populated areas and is just one of 5 LRT corridors planned for the community. With feeder bus interconnections, the City of Calgary intends to provide its citizens with an economical, fast, and energy-efficient mode of transportation. In fact, 3 civic administrations have been committed to the successful operations of the South Corridor alone. Calgary's forecast of more expansion and greater prosperity will test the future administration's abilities to keep pace with changing times and increasing demands for newer and quicker public transit. This challenge, the City of Calgary is prepared to meet.